I'm Diana Natalicio, and I'm president of the University of Texas at El Paso. It's a really tough problem because we love single number metrics that we can benchmark and all of that, and we do a lot of that at UTEP. We're always benchmarking ourselves and really looking toward continuous improvement by benchmarking against ourselves and what we looked like last year and what we look like this year. And so we're fond of accountability measures, but I think the important point here is that we not get so caught up in trying to demonstrate failure and try to begin to hone in on what are the metrics that actually tell us what we want to know. I think within the framework of Texas Closing the Gaps initiative of the coordinating board, where you set goals for degrees awarded by 2015, the only thing you can possibly count is degrees awarded. Measuring the graduation rate is irrelevant to Closing the Gaps goals. Closing the Gaps goals are about degrees awarded. So count them. I mean, that seems to me to be, you measure what you say you want. And so I hope that we can continue to look at all of these metrics. I think the best answer is you collect a lot of data and you look at all of it and you recognize that some metrics fit certain institutions better than others. Graduation rate is much more a statement about the demographics of your student population than it is about anything to do with the institution's efficiency or performance. When I became president, one of the first things we did was to look at feeder patterns from the various high schools in El Paso, because it was very clear that our student demographics did not mirror the demographics of this region. As we looked at those feeder patterns, what we discovered is not surprising. We discovered that the more Anglo and more affluent high schools were sending us more students, and the lower income and more Latino high schools were sending us far fewer students, in some cases none. And so if you believe that talent is everywhere, that it crosses ethnic and gender and geographic and socioeconomic boundaries, then you have to say, okay, so what's wrong with this picture? Well, what we learned was that in some high schools, students simply weren't encouraged to think about going to a four-year university. Many of them were told along the way that they weren't college material. Many of them were discouraged by their parents who didn't think they could afford it. They were, in many ways, it was almost a conspiracy of good intentions, you might say. Not all good, but some good anyway. And so what we said was, okay, we've got to fix this, because those students with talent who come from high schools where they're not showing up at the university have just as much right to expect that opportunity as more affluent students in another zip code. And so what we've been able to do is get to the point where now our student demographics mirror those of this region, which is quite an accomplishment. So we look like El Paso, which is what you should do if you believe talent is equally distributed across all these groups. And what is also very important about that is it's in our interest. This is not something we're doing because we want to be particularly kind, or it's just the right thing to do. And it's the right thing to do in our self-interest as well, because 83% of our students come from El Paso County schools. And we produce probably 2/3 to 3/4 of the teachers in the school. So it's a totally closed loop. And given that, doing any kind of blame assignment or anything that might suggest that we're better and you've got to do better, you've got to send us better students, and school districts then might say, well, you have to send us better teachers. And that's useless. I mean, it's a futile conversation. So what we really have to do is work together and to keep building aspirations and achievement, educational attainment in this region.